and they start absolutely kicking the shit out of Rosita for like a good 5 minutes. Like they're pretty much doing like Mortal Kombat WWE moves on her, like drop kicks and shit.
They're like, where is he?
And then after 5 minutes, Kachia drops down, beats up the two guys, kills them both, and then he's like, "You okay?"
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? Were you
And
just
she-
sitting there
she's-
watching? Lee Van Cleef just can't stop making great spaghetti westerns with directors called Sergio. Because this week we're doing The Big Gun Down, directed by Sergio Salima.
Lee Van Cleef is roped in to hunting down a suspected rapist and murderer across the state of Texas.
This is one of the rare films where neither of us have seen it before we come to do it. And it's also one of the rare spaghetti westerns we haven't already seen, which is surprising because it's supposedly one of the big ones. I'd actually never heard of it. I threw it out there for us to review this week just because I saw the poster and I just thought, that looks good. Lee Van Cleef, can't go wrong. Let's do it. And I was expecting to enjoy the kind of dumb things about spaghetti westerns I usually enjoy, like, you know, the bad dubbing and the poor technical things and the awful acting. And I was actually kind of blown away by the quality. Even from the opening sort of sequences, I was really digging how it was filmed. Everything was really nicely framed within the camera, and you'd get a lot of long takes, and they wouldn't just be static, but you'd be focusing on one conversation for a couple of moments, and then the camera would follow the characters into the next scene, or maybe outside, or sometimes it would just leave the characters and move into an entirely different thing happening in another room. There was a lot of storytelling through the camera work. The dubbing also, other than a couple of points, most notably with the blonde hooker character, was really on point. I was kind of blown away. Even most of what I was surprised by in the spaghetti western was the writing was really good. Obviously the director had a big hand in the flow of the film, but the writing was brilliant, and every scene just flowed from one fun set piece into the next fun set piece at a really good pace. I mean, obviously it's still a spaghetti western, still kind of silly and over the top and dumb in parts, but nothing felt overly convenient of how the plot got progressed or how each scene flowed into the next.
You know how much I love Sergio Leone. He's possibly our favourite ever director. You know, but the opening, the colours, the movement, and definitely the music, that really got me. That's the opening sequence. I'm ready for this. I started to get that little tingle of excitement.
Each other somewhere there is an end.
So refreshing, because I thought I'd seen most spaghetti westerns. I know it's not Sergio Leone, but for some reason I always compare them, and that's a bad thing to do. And this was very much a great film in its own right, really.
Yeah, well, it's natural to do that because Sergio Leone, he takes up all four heads on the Mount Rushmore of spaghetti westerns. Like, he is the daddy. And Ennio Morricone, he would be probably the second head. Yeah, he's the stepdaddy.
Yeah.
He'd be the second head on it because he is an absolute, he personifies what you think of when you think of a spaghetti western soundtrack. And he's pulled out another absolute cracker with this film. It's funny because I even put in my notes, the only thing this film's missing is a banging musical score to go with it. And then the music started actually coming into it more. But it was used really sparingly. And I don't know how I feel about that, because when it does come in for the big moments we'll talk about later, it probably was more impactful because I was really waiting for it. But I was kind of like, like I want to be hearing it. You know, if they're just riding horses, I'm like, fuck it, throw it in then as well. Like, I just want to hear this music. It's an Ennio Morricone score. Play that shit on a loop. Pretty much any time, Leone included, they would fucking get their bang for their buck from the musical score. They would use it a lot. And it was like, it stood out to me how sparingly they used it in this one.
You know the scenes with the longer dialogue. I thought the pacing was good overall, but I thought they dragged on a little bit, and I thought the music could have helped to aid that. Maybe again, Declan, we're doing unfair comparisons. Well, this isn't like Once Upon a Time in the West. It's difficult to like tear yourself away from the ultimate. You know, you've seen the best, and the rest are just contenders. Do you know what I mean?
To be honest, I kind of would put it not in the absolute top tier of your Good, the Bad and the Uglies, your Once Upon a Time in the Wests. But to be honest, only they are in that top tier. I'd put it right in the tier below with your Fistful of Dollars and your Great Silences. I fucking love this film.
Are you Kulik? I've been waiting for you. Looks like you've had a long trip. 300 miles.
Yeah, I left Texas fast.
So fast we kill our horses. Another mile of walking would kill us, too. Well, we got the loot here safe and sound.
So the opening scene, these three bandits show up and they obviously arrange beforehand that this is like their rendezvous. They think they're meeting the guy, but we know it's Lee Van Cleef, so we know that's not really the guy. I love this classic spaghetti western moment. It's so stupid, but it kind of does work. They sell it in the moment. They're like, oh, we're here to meet, what's his name? And he's like, oh, well, he's hanging there behind you. And then the camera pans out slightly to where he's hanging like 5 feet away from him. But because the camera wasn't looking at it, somehow they magically couldn't see it before, which is so dumb, but it's just like spaghetti western.
Then he's like, you fools, in like the dubbing, you know, it's like, he is whatever the name is, and then obviously like quick draw, angel eyes, Lee Van Cleef guns them down, doesn't he? All three of them.
Even when he's playing a hero, he's just so badass. He has such a fucking stoic, statuesque sort of vibe to him that he kind of feels a bit villainous. I nearly just don't want to know him because he just makes me feel insecure because he's so much fucking cooler than me.
Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, he reminds me of Daniel Day-Lewis's character in There Will Be Blood.
Straight away, we've established our main character. He's the badass bounty hunter. So in the next scene, we see Broxton, who is a big-time businessman and railroad prospector, has invited him to the wedding of his daughter. And you see he's the big businessman douchebag that's in all these films. He's got a little timepiece sort of thing in his pocket, and he's dressed like the KFC colonel, and he's just being a dick in his whole like vibe. He wants him to run for some sort of political position, and he's like, listen, I'll fund you, and then you sort me out with the railroad down the line. And he's, you know, Lee Van Cleef is all moral, and I'll only do this if it's for the progress of this nation.
Are you really interested in the progress of this country?
Well, let's say I construct this railroad and make millions of dollars. But I do construct it, and only I can.
He's actually quite honest with him. He's like, listen, it is going to help the world, but I want to get rich doing it. Which isn't far off, you know, we need railroads. I'm kind of and ahhing, like, I don't know how to feel about this character. Like, will he be the villain? Will he not be? Will he just sort of be a douchebag? Will he disappear from the rest of the plot? I don't know. He's also buttering him up and flattering him about the fact that he's such a good bounty hunter. From the start, I was thinking Lee Van Cleef is going to kind of be quite a boring character. He seems very morally one note from the opening. Seems like he's going to be your hero. He's going to save every damsel in distress. He's going to do all that. But quite early on, you get these little seeds that his ego is actually really wrapped up in his ability as a bounty hunter. And although he's not taking any of Broxton's bullshit, but he's very easy to flatter when it comes to his bounty hunting. Before long, you see a couple of grotesque looking redhead guys. What were these guys? Like, they clearly weren't actually redheads. What the fuck were they? They had like the weirdest makeup. That was awful. That was one of the truly terrible parts of it.
Do you think they dyed it, like, but it just fucked up?
No, it was like awful. It was clearly like awful wigs and fake beards.
Like they had like stuck on like beards. Like, you know, when you go to like the costume shop for like Halloween, the cheap beard that you put on for glue and like they just keeps falling off. So in the end, you just leave it.
It looked ridiculous. But anyway, they show up at the wedding and they announce that some poor woman's been found raped and murdered.
Probably making steady tracks for that Mexican day laborers camp. We're going after him.
The sheriff will have to organize a posse right now.
Miller, what's the sense of us sending out a 30-man posse when we got one man who can do it all by himself?
All honest men would be grateful to the one who brings this murder to justice. I'll bring you the Mexican for a wedding present.
Corbett, don't you need information about the Mexican?
His name is Cuchilla Sanchez, and he'll be headed south.
So he heads off, and that pretty much sets up the premise for the majority of the film. Most spaghetti westerns are pretty simple. This one is especially simple up until the end. A bounty hunter hunting someone down. That simple plot just becomes a vehicle just to go from fun scene and wacky character to fun scene and wacky character. Pretty much from this point onwards, I fucking love this film.
It's when Broxton came along. You said you didn't know he was evil. The geezer has a Nazi as a bodyguard.
Well, hold on, when's this set?
Yeah, I know it's before, but
He's a German.
he's a baron.
Your name is well known in Texas. In Austria, we also know of it.
Professional courtesy. You're being complimented. The Baron was the best shot in Europe. 23 duels, 23 widows.
My compliments.
He's a baron.
All right, he's not a good bloke. I wanted to talk about the Baron, actually.
Yeah, he's a baron, but I believe he could have come back in some sort of like DeLorean time machine. You know, Back to the Future 3. He's got a DeLorean. He's an actual Nazi because
He might have been the guy that was supposed to buy Hitler's paintings.
Yeah. He's got you know the Nazis were doing all these weird experiments that we never know in like underground bunkers. He's a baron, you know, and he has one of those little like monocles on, and he's like, oh, I'm the best shooter. And I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, like this Broxton guy, how can you have this guy as a bodyguard, man?
Yeah, Lee Van Cleef meets him at the wedding.
Yeah.
And there's a great moment where he's saying, oh, I've won 37 jewels. He asked him, like, I'd like to have a little game, not a duel, but like have a little game, just like showcase each other's skills with a pistol.
Yeah,
Lee Van Cleef is like, I don't do kid shit. Guns aren't for fucking around. He just dismisses him.
I think the Baron is anxious to have you demonstrate your skill against his.
I stopped playing with guns when I was a boy of 10.
Basically, whose dick's bigger out of both? Oh, I can do this, but he's 137. By law of averages, you're gonna lose and die like in the end, unless you're. Boy, he thinks he's amazing, doesn't he?
Tell that to the boxer who's 37 and 0. You just get more confident.
True. And he's got like all these. He's like Short Round from Goonies. He's got like all these belts and gadgets to make him shoot better. And Lee Van Cleef's just like not having it, is he?
Well, speaking of gadgets, it was kind of reminding me of James Bond, where you have your main big villain, your sort of villain,
Yes.
and then you've got the weird, scary bodyguard guy you know you're going to have to fight at some point. And that's what I mean about the writing of this film is so well constructed that within 15 minutes we have our premise, we have all our main characters and minor sub-characters set up, and the whole film's ready just to unfold. It does the film itself a service because it can just have fun from this point onwards. So we get into the actual hunt. So the first scene we're introduced to Cuchillo, he's getting his beard shaved by barbers in like the next town over. And it's quite a fun little set piece because you have Lee Van Cleef not being very subtle. He arrives, you know, with a big black hat on and on top of a horse asking for him openly. Cuchillo's facing away from him, but the barber, who's obviously shaving him, he's got his eyes on Lee Van Cleef. So he's using him as like nearly like a little periscope saying, what's he doing now? Where's he going? So someone grasses him up straight away and Lee Van Cleef heads over there. But by the time he's there, he pushes the barber out of the way, looks at him and sees it's now actually the barber sat down getting shaved.
You're the barber, aren't you? Then give me a shave.
Done a cheeky little swap, innit?
The old switcheroo.
Yeah, the old switcheroo. It's a bit stupid, like, if I was a bounty hunter, I'd just be wearing jogging bottoms or dressed as a tramp.
Wear glasses, look unsuspecting.
Like, he just turns up, you see him with 8 guns or 9 guns strapped to him. Oh, that guy is the bounty hunter. You do need to have a bit more stealth about you, but not in the West, it seems. Yeah, he gets away, but Lee Van Cleef is determined, man. He wants to find his man. Like, as you said, this bounty hunter thing, he doesn't want a black mark against reputation, so he's not going to stop. He's going to hunt him down to the end.
He rolls back into town and he's found him. He's killed Cuchillo. He's on the back of his horse.
It isn't Cuchillo. This boy just happens to look a lot like him. This is Paco Molinas, sentenced last month for robbery and murder and made an escape. Sentence is paid in full. Amen. But you happen to get the wrong man.
And he's worried for a second because he's thinking, oh shit, have I just murdered some random dude? But it turns out he also had a bounty on him. So he gets paid for that bounty anyway. So he's like, oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Before he sets out again looking for the real Cuchillo, he's like, fuck it, well, I need to stay somewhere tonight. But apparently all the hotels in town have shut down. He either has to stay in the jail in one of the cells or get a hooker. So obviously, you know, he goes with the hooker. This is what I was saying, the only example of terrible dubbing in the film was this blonde hooker.
I found her a bit annoying, to be honest.
She was definitely meant to be annoying.
Yeah.
Also, I like the fact it leads into, he's just like kind of listening to her and he wants to shag her, but then he notices notices his deputy metal star that he received from the sheriff previously that got stolen by Chichillo when he stole his horse. She has it, and he asks her where's it from, and he finds out Chichillo fucked her the night before. This obviously leads on to he now has a new clue on like the trail of him, so he can follow her. But also, it's the first seed we get of the fact that Chichillo is a fucking ladies' man. Because she's talking about how he's so better looking and so much nicer than you to Lee Van Cleef.
Yeah, he's so much better looking. He has more money. He has a bigger dick.
What was he like?
Better mannered than you are. That's for sure. He had a nicer face than you have, too. So there. More sympathetic. More gentle. And he's much richer, too. That's what he told me. He's a very rich Mexican grandee. And if he hadn't been set on going with the Mormons, he could have stayed all night, too. Then I could convince him to stay with me. What a man... Hey! What a nerve.
Chichillo treats women like shit in this film, but they just fucking love him. It's hilarious. So anyway, that leads him on the trail of Chichillo again. From the hooker, he gets word that he's hanging out with some Mormons.
If I take my hand away from your mouth, will you be quiet?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, is there a young Mexican with you?
Yes.
Which wagon's he in?
Why, I put him in mine. But right now he's at the spring getting water with little Sarah.
Little Sarah? How old is little Sarah?
13. Why do you ask?
Because this boy's wanted for rape and murder of a little girl.
So he runs down to the river, and it cuts to Chichillo and the young girl down by the river. And this is the first time we really spend any amount of time just with focusing on him as the character. Like, we've seen only a couple of seconds here and there. The film's smart because he's acting kind of weird. You don't know if he's being flirty or rapey towards this girl. You know, he's messing about in the river. He's inviting her in. She's kind of like, oh, no. But then she's getting her boots off and like coming into the river with him.
It's kind of like those Sting episodes you see on Facebook where they catch him and they're like, why are you here? And they're like, oh, I was just going to chat to her. Like, and they just turn up. Yeah. And they just turn up and he's in the sea like, why are you in the sea with
like,
her?
To catch a predator.
It's like, we just were swimming lessons, isn't it?
Take a seat over there.
Yeah. Like, it was very weird, but you're right, the film is clever because to all intents and purposes, he is the rapist.
But anyway, Lee Van Cleef interrupts it, pulls out his pistol, and he's doing the classic thing you do where you don't shoot the guy straight away or tie him up. You talk for a bit, and as he's in the middle of talking, he gets shot in the back by the girl.
I could easily kill you right now.
Please don't rob me, senor. I swear I'm a poor Mexican. By the Virgin of Guadalupe.
Come on.
Because she was freaking out like, oh, it's a bandit. He's going to rob us. Chichillo takes that as an opportunity to jump on a horse and ride away. And I love his reaction as well when he just starts cracking up.
We're only like at the start of the film, and if it's about 3-0 to Chichillo.
Oh mate, he is trashing
or maybe
him.
4-0 even. Like,
I was shocked as well. I was thinking, is Lee Van Cleef going to be dead? And now we just follow Chichillo for the rest of the film.
that would have been a mad twist, but I don't think it would have worked, man.
Meanwhile, Chichillo wanders into what it appears to be not a town, but just kind of like a home ranch in the middle of nowhere, where he stumbles across these 10 guys who are hanging around watching 2 other guys fight. It's less a fight, more one guy pounding another guy's head in with a rock. And all the while there's this mysterious widow who's watching on from the windows. And you're thinking, what is this shit? What is going on here? This is a bit weird. Really, really interesting character setup, this one, isn't it?
Yeah, he goes in looking for work.
He says work, he's going to scam. Or
Yeah, he's going to
whatever he
do
can.
something, but then one of the characters in a fight somehow gets some sort of Wolverine contraption / rake and then rips the other man's face off. We see a bit here of like the racism towards Mexicans because like straight away they're like, we don't recruit Mexicans here. And then the widow stumbles out, says, well, he's just got his face ripped open and he's going to take time to recover, so come and work for us. Yeah, it was a very strange dynamic. To be honest, Declan, I guess that, you know, going round on horses, it must take days upon days to reach the next settlement. It's not like they've got the railroad, as we've seen. If you come across somewhere, you have to stop to get food, water, basic necessities, otherwise you'll perish.
But yeah, that stuff wouldn't have been uncommon at all.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny as well because they're like, oh, do we have any work for him? And they're like, oh, the bull. So they feed him and then they just throw him at a bull. And I don't really know what the job was. Obviously, he was trying to get the bull back into its pen. It didn't really seem like work. It more seemed like hazing sort of initiation or just fucking with him. But again, the stunt work here was brilliant. Usually, like in spaghetti westerns at this time, you'd have the bull sort of running at the camera shakily, and then the camera would fly up in the air, and then you'd just see the guy go, oh, as he rolls onto the floor. This, you got full wide shots of the bull clattering whoever the stuntman was. Maybe it was the actor himself.
Go to the floor badly dubbed, like, oh.
But still, like, it was good. Like, I was well impressed.
No,
and he eventually, he gets the bull into the pen, closes it up, and immediately the widow is like, I want to fuck you, man. She's giving him the bedroom eyes. So she sends everyone away and says, oh, you can come in to rest. And Kachira immediately knows. He's like...
Oh, I love this scene. Cut to him with his shirt ripped off and he was just like on the bed like...
He looked like such a peasant.
Yeah, like wallowing and around, knowing what he's going to do. They love him, man. I don't know if it's the bowl haircut. I don't know if it's the, vigilante... bad boy thing, but yeah, he's a ladies' man.
And I love just before, like, he's looking out the window down below at all the other douchebags looking at him, and then she comes up behind him and he just shuts the curtains. Fucks her. Then it immediately cuts to he's tied up and getting ferociously whipped by all the men.
Yeah, I didn't really understand that.
And you're like, hold up.
I think they're outside going, I bet he's fucking her right now. Like saying shit, getting all jealous. Because if you think about it, then maybe she's just a total like super slag, and she just like waits in her little room and like sees someone coming along and fucks each one of them. Yeah, and then obviously they've all fucked her before, and now they're jealous. They're always jealous of the new.
Mate, that's exactly what it is. And that was because at start I was trying to guess, and I was like, okay, is this sort of a Fistful of Dollars rip-off where one of the gangs is run by a woman boss, and that's kind of the twist of it. But then I realised she wasn't a crime boss at all. They weren't a gang. It was just a weird dynamic where she would find stragglers, like you said, stopping for a couple of days for some food and some water or whatever, fuck their brains out, get them obsessed with her, bring them up to here, and then cast them out, have them always like wanting to please her and kind of obsessed and infatuated by her, and then she'd collect a new one, and then she'd be playing them all off against each other. Spaghetti westerns are usually very blunt force trauma, simplistic character profiles. But this was a interesting psychological little dynamic going on as a subplot in this. I was well impressed.
No, but it's not even worth it. Yes, you get to fuck her once, but you have to get hit by a ball in legs and then whipped like by 5 different people. Furiously.
Well, Kachia he's too smart for it.
Yeah.
I don't think he's that impressed by it anyway. He's just like, yeah, I'll fuck you if that's what I have to do.
Yeah.
But then he immediately breaks it down, because as he's getting whipped the shit out of him, Lee Van Cleef shows up to sort of save him, sort of bring him back to be killed.
I said I'm taking Kachia with me. You've been told he's not going back there.
Stop it! Put away your guns. I blame my men for what happened. They shouldn't have provoked you.
The widow comes out, interrupts things, invites him in, tries to do her sexual hoodoo magic on him inside. And this is where, like you were saying, Kachia's too smart for it, because while they're in there, he starts playing on all their insecurities they already have, being like, oh, he's in there right now. What do you reckon he's doing to her?
Oh,
do you reckon they're fucking already? Like, oh, what do you reckon's going on? And they're all like getting angry.
See, what I feel sorry for you poor boys, because you're sharing this pen with me while they're there alone. Now he's kissing her soft white neck while she runs her fingers up his back. Soon there's nothing she won't give to him, and so he reaches out. Shut up! I'll kill you if you don't shut up!
He looks so pathetic. As much as he's a G in this film, he spends most of the film in rags, getting the shit kicked out of him. In this scene, he's literally lying on the floor covered in pig mud. Just like a loser.
He's a bit of a pussy as well, in a way.
In what? Yeah, do you reckon?
Lee Van Cleef trying to take on the whole gang of gimps, sex slaves or whatever you want to call them. And he's like saying, like, help me, Mexican. And I'll sneak around the back. He manages to just sneak off.
Yeah, but that's his program.
Yeah.
He's not a pussy. He's smart. Like he constantly says, it becomes a running joke where every time he escapes Lee Van Cleef's clutches, he says to him, you're not smart enough. You're never going to get me. You're never going to catch me. You're not smart smart enough. And he even says he has an opportunity at one point to kill him. And he says, if I kill you, they'll send someone smarter. He plays on everyone's insecurity so much. And he convinces him like, think about it. If he stays, he'll be the boss. You saw what he did. He shot all the other guys. We got to take him out now. So he convinces them all to gang up on Lee Van Cleef. They start shooting at him. Lee Van Cleef ends up, Lee Van Cleefing and killing all of them one by one. But it gives time, like you said, for Kachia to escape on a horse.
Yeah, I don't really get this about spaghetti westerns. 11 or 12 people all shooting. Why do you all have to stand in the same position? And why don't 6 of you just be like, right, and you sneak round the back, gun him down? Everyone just stays in the exact position going, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true, but you must just think there's 7 of us. How could we lose?
That's true.
How could we fuck this up? I love his world. As Lee Van Cleef obviously leaves, again he's had his horse stolen, so he's going to be way behind Kachia. And as he's leaving, the widow's coming out. Everyone's dead now. Lee Van Cleef's leaving, and she's just begging him please don't leave me alone. I'm so lonely here.
No, wait, please. No, I beg you. I'm afraid. Please don't leave me here alone, please. Don't leave me here alone.
Such an interesting, funny little character and set piece to be in the film. I'd nearly want to see a spin-off sequel just about her.
Or a little sitcom.
Yeah.
They all come in woo.
Yeah.
He's a new guy, woo.
Kachia's pretty much battered him every single round, like you said. But I'd say this is a score for Lee Van Cleef in the next scene because he immediately tracks down Kachia.
He waits by the only source of water for miles around, and Kachia, he turns up to the water, which is fucking black water from a bath. But I don't care. It doesn't really matter because they're thirsty as fuck. And he says to him, next time you steal a horse, make sure there's a canteen of water.
And he ties him up and he's got him by the fire, and Lee Van Cleef is just chilling. He's smug. He's taking his time. Kachia's trying to Ian Beale his way out of it, kind of being a little weasel, being like, I have a family and children.
Nothing left.
Think
Sharon.
of the children, please.
Yeah.
But it's not working. Lee Van Cleef's just laughing it off. But Kachia starts to notice a snake sort of sneaking up on Lee Van Cleef. And when he's not looking, he puts between his toes the spine of a cactus. And when Lee Van Cleef turns around to do something in the fire, he kicks it into his arse. And Lee Van Cleef's like, what the fuck is that? Turns around, sees the snake, shoots it. And Kachia uses that to convince him that he's been bitten.
Yeah, a bit of a madness.
Bit convoluted.
Yeah, I don't think that is actually possible.
I don't know. I'm pretty good at picking shit up with my toes, man.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
but you
ambidextrous.
telling me you can kick something so hard to pierce into someone's skin?
No. No, here's the thing. How hard do you need to pierce? You only need to pierce hard enough to convince him
he's been bitten.
He feels that feeling. Maybe it didn't feel that hard, but how hard? I've never been bitten by a snake before.
And plus he's wearing a shirt.
Yeah, how painful does it feel? He turns around, sees the snake. You'd make up in your mind, oh, that really hurt. Oh, that snake must have bitten me. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't see it. He can't see it because it's on his arse. He can't see it. Or it's on his back anyway.
What's really sad about this scene, the more I think about it, is that poor snake did fuck all.
Fuck it. It was sneaking up on Lee Van Cleef.
It just got shot for
Fuck
no
that
reason.
little snake.
Anyway, yeah, so he convinces him that he's been bitten. And, he's very clever. He's like, I need to suck it out. I need to, after I suck it out, we then need to cauterize it, burn it, all of this. And Lee Van Cleef's desperate because he thinks he's dying, so he lets him do it. And then lo and behold, Kachia takes his gun. When would he learn?
This was the one time where
man.
I was starting to think, you're very smart when you have a plan, but in the moment, Lee Van Cleef feels very dumb, at least in comparison to Kachia. Kachia is absolutely outsmarting him. And by this point, he is way more fun of a character.
He's been done about 10 times.
Yeah, but we've seen, his reputation precedes him.
Yeah,
he was invited to the big fancy wedding at the start. He caught the 3 bandits, He seems to have been he checks out, his CV checks out every step of the way up till now. But maybe Kachia's just that, guy. That white elephant, that white whale that you can't, that thing you can't catch.
And then obviously gets away once again.
But to kill you is a big mistake. If I kill you, they'll just send another man after me who's much smarter. Much. The next time, remember that.
Kachia ends up running into a bunch of priests who are out in the middle of nowhere. I guess they've just freshly baked all these Holy Communion wafers.
Yeah.
And he quickly asks, have they been blessed yet? And they're like, no. And he quickly starts eating them all, because I guess he's religious, I don't know. Lee Van Cleef is just a couple of days behind Kachia when he shows up at the priesthood. And he's talking to, what's the name of the priest again? He's got a really funny nickname. Father Smith and Weston.
Yeah, Father Smith and Weston, yeah. I called him Rasputin because of his like long
He does look a bit like that.
Yeah.
And the priest nicknamed him that because when he first showed up to the priesthood, before he was a priest, he was essentially Lee Van Cleef. You know, he was a bounty hunter. He had killed so many men and he was obsessed with that life. And he recognizes immediately in Lee Van Cleef, why are you doing this? Because I've just told you, he's already made it into Mexico. He's out of your jurisdiction. You know, you're talking about the law, you're talking about morality, but if you're following him into Mexico, at this point, it's personal. You can't hide behind that anymore. This is about your own personal vendetta and your own personal ego. And this is the point where you are realizing Lee Van Cleef, he's not the bad guy, but he's not the good guy. Cachillo is becoming less and less the bad guy and more, you know, kind of the neutral guy. At this point, I'm fully wanting Cachillo to get away. Like, I prefer him as a character. And like I said, what starts off as these very basic, simplistic, stereotypical character profiles get more and more interesting as the film goes on.
Yeah, you start to feel sorry for Cachillo, constantly on the run. So you're starting to think, he's a womanizer, yes, but is he a rapist? He just thinks he's a normal priest. He like takes his gun, and he goes bang, bang, bang into a tree and starts like spinning it, chucking it up, putting it in holsters.
Looks like a chilled out place to be a priest as well. They were just sort of out in the sun, middle of nowhere, probably didn't ever have to do mass. They were growing oranges, like it looked pretty nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Lee Van Cleef, he crosses that line and crosses the border into Mexico, and he shows up in the office of the local Mexican sheriff, who's corrupt and fat, has the worst mustache I've ever seen. If that's a real, I'm assuming it's a fake mustache, but if it's a real one, then that is horrendous. Just the way it didn't cover his lip, but then it covered too much of it in other parts, like it just looked disgusting.
Where did they child?
Yes, a little girl.
Was she good looking? Was it your sister? Was it your cousin?
I never saw her.
I don't understand. Why are you following after this Cuchillo? You must be a sheriff.
No.
I don't get you. You can't even prove to me who you are.
Look, you must have heard of this Cuchillo. I know he lives in your town. He said his wife worked for the Padre.
That's a big laugh. The Padre never let her enter the church. Rosita's worked in a bordello since she was 15. Yes, I know Cuchillo. I know that one well. He's one of
And he's asking pretty good questions where you're like, yeah, why are you doing this, Lee Van Cleef? Like, this is a bit weird. This is just a vendetta at this point. He is just getting more and more annoyed at the fact that he can't catch this guy and he keeps slipping through his fingers. So anyway, he's like, go find him if you want. I don't give a shit. I know the guy you're looking for. He's a piece of shit. I ain't going to help you, but I don't mind if you catch him. But if you fuck around in my town, I'm going to fuck you up. This is when he decides to go and track down Rosita, Cachillo's wife, who turns out she is a hooker. She is fucking gorgeous. This actress is beautiful.
Yeah.
Very disappointed Lee Van Cleef didn't actually, get his money's worth when he went into.
Yeah, like if I was going to whorehouse, I'd definitely pick her over the blonde.
Yeah, much less annoying as well. And I love this scene as well because this sums up what a G Cachilla is, where he goes in, he asks him about Cachilla, and she's like, don't talk to me about him. He is a liar. He's a no good. He runs out on me all the time. He showed up just yesterday and he's told me he was going to stay forever and this time, and he stole all my money and ran away. And he's like, well, good news. We're on each other's side then. I need to bring him to justice. Tell me where he is. I'm going to make sure he hangs. And she's like, what? You're going to hang my man? And starts beating the shit out of him. She's like, get out. I love him.
She's like a standard 50-year-old divorcee with like a giant bag like drooping out their mouth. Like, James is such a wanker. And then like the next day they're back together and like they're changing their Facebook statuses to like.
Next day she's having a hair pulling fight with some other slag from the council estate.
Man.
But in the body of a beautiful Mexican woman.
Yeah.
On the way out of the brothel, Lee Van Cleef ends up getting into a fight because Rosita starts saying, he didn't pay. He tried to not pay me, this, that, and the other. He starts battering everyone. The sheriff finds him, and like he said, he's going to fuck him up if he fucks around in his town, so he throws him into the jail cell. Meanwhile, like Rosita said, Kachia stole all their money. He's in like the fancy bar, hanging out with all the people. He's got like 7 prostitutes on the go, 3 on each arm, like having a great time, but he gets too rowdy and he ends up getting thrown in the cell. And I love the scene where he has no idea Liam Van Cleef's in the cell and he's just hiding in the shadows.
Yeah, he goes in and then he just socks him straight in the face. And this is where Cuchillo started pissing me off a bit because he started being an absolute pussy. Like,
as soon as you turn your back, he'll go for me again.
Better
I
cut
want
out
to go
that
to another
shouting.
cell. No, I keep shouting all night long. Ah, 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 ah. Oh.
they're separated by the cell. That's like the physical separation bit. It kind of mirrors the whole film. It's been a great cat and mouse chase, but they've always been he's always been like out of reach. He's that close.
That's a great point.
He's that close but far away. He says, how do you know I'm innocent? You're just assuming I'm innocent. Assuming I'm guilty, sorry. From that statement of him being such a stand-up guy and he hasn't done anything wrong, he whips out a knife that he's hidden because he says, the advantage for me is I've been here before and I know they don't search you. And I know in my country the walls are made of mud. So he starts like tunneling out of the prison and you're like, look, you're trying to protest your innocence while sneaking in a knife to prison and doing a prison break at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what a guy, man.
He's a legend.
Yeah.
And he even says to Lee Van Cleef, he's like he actually stops digging halfway through and he's like, I don't get you. Why don't you just shout to the guard right now? You got these weird like morality things about you want to do things the right way, but really like, why are you out here? You don't know I'm guilty. You've just decided it and now that's the right thing to do in your mind. The other guys come back and they're like, well, how the fuck did the other guy get out? But he doesn't have to worry about that for too long because the sheriff lets him out, because Broxton and all his other little rich mates and bodyguards and even his stepson and daughter have showed up in Mexico to bail him out, and they've showed up with a bunch of other bounty hunters and posses in order to basically finish this situation once and for all, because he got news from Mexico from his own little high up rich guys and political contacts that this was going on, and it was probably causing a bit too much noise for his liking, so he's come down to basically sort things out.
How mad is it to like live in the West? Like, if someone pisses you off, you just make up shit about them and they won't even have to go to trial. They just get murdered.
Well, like Oxbow incident
so
a couple
like,
of weeks ago.
So like if I go into work and like someone annoys me, I just whisper in the office that they raped someone, and then all of a sudden a posse will just turn up and like murder them. And I'll be like, cool, man.
And how do you start about them? Like, do you just like whisper it to
Chinese whispers, innit?
No, you whisper it while someone's taking a shit behind
So but they're all ready to hunt him down. So he is really on the back foot even further. It's gone from 1 to about 20. But at Broxton's house, we're there, and you know all the bounty hunters are there, gathered, having drinks as you do before you go out to like try and murder someone. Having drinks, and there's little waitresses there, like serving trays of whatever they drank back in the day, you know. And Broxton's son-in-law's there, isn't he? Who's just married his wife. We saw the wedding earlier in just married his daughter. Sorry, we saw the wedding earlier in the film when they were there, and he started like getting onto the waitresses, like grabbing her. Broxton comes in, whack. Broxton's a really good fighter, actually.
He's fucking hard.
Yeah.
Like, until you saw him up close with that guy, because the stepson isn't tiny, but Broxton is fucking big. You know, one of those guys where he looks fat, but he's actually not. He's just a big guy. He's got a big head. Like, if you punch him, you probably hurt your hand. He's a big dude. Yeah.
Somehow he manages to do his thing. I thought he was just a rich guy that would just like pay off people to murder people, and he didn't actually ever get his hands dirty. But he punches him and he fucks him up like big time, man.
And duke out with the best of him.
It's kind of like the Joker. He has no powers, but he's so like deranged that he's actually really good at hand-to-hand combat.
Didn't you learn anything the first time? Did you have to try it once more?
What are you trying to say?
You know damn well what I mean.
When did you know I was the one?
When it was too late. After you'd married my daughter. And when those 2 red-headed friends of yours showed up at the party, and you pretended you just saw them. I knew for a fact that you'd seen him a night before.
Cuchilla was innocent this whole time.
To be honest, this whole sequence is fantastic. The film has been non-stop action pretty much throughout. And it takes a real big breath here where Lee Van Cleef is kind of nearly taking a back seat and just digesting everything. He's had that conversation in the jailhouse with Kachia, and now he's watching the way everyone's acting. He's watching Broxton, he's watching the stepson, he's watching the Baron, and he's talking to him. And it starts off with him and the Baron having a conversation, and the Baron's playing this German, I think it's a German piece of music on the piano. The camera leaves them and drifts on into the next room where we see the stepson and the Broxton's daughter having their conversation, and then the music carries on, and then the camera carries off onto following the stepson as he goes off to rape the barmaid, like you said. But the whole time the music's playing in the background. It's just such a beautifully done scene, and it really calms the film down before it gets into the final action sequence.
What I will say about the music being used sparingly, the thing that I really liked about this film, you know, whenever the Baron comes on, there's that piece of music that goes I really, really like that. I know
he was a great little villain.
Yeah,
wasn't he,
I know
Baron?
it's not like Ennio Morricone. It's a famous classical piece, obviously. I don't know what the name is. You'll know it if you hear it. But it's so cool. He's so fucking evil that he's got his own theme tune. Do you know what I mean? So that was really cool. It cuts to all the bounty hunters on horseback running amok in the town, trying to find Kachia. Like, they're going door to door, like punching people up, like smashing shit up, you know. And then this is really good because the fat Mexicans are a general sheriff of the town. Like, his deputies run in and like, look, the whole town is getting fucked up. Like, you've said to Lee Van Cleef, like, don't mess up the town, and you're letting this happen. He's like, I'll just go to bed. I'll just leave it because, you know, Broxton is like a good investor in the town. He gives money to the church. So, you know.
What made me laugh as well is, obviously, the bounty hunters show up at Rosita's place, and we see that Kachia is hiding up in sort of like this attic bit, and he's watching this all happen, and they start absolutely kicking the shit out of Rosita for like a good 5 minutes. Like, they're pretty much doing like Mortal Kombat WWE moves on her, like drop kicks and shit.
They're like, where is he?
And then after 5 minutes, Kachia drops down, beats up the two guys, kills them both, and then he's like, are you okay?
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck were you
And
just sitting there watching?
Where is he?
I don't know. I haven't seen him. I don't know. I swear.
Yes, you know.
I swear.
Where is he? Tell us! I'll make you yum, you pig!
It's pretty sick because they got guns, but we've established he's an expert with a throwing knife, so whack into one of them, like, cool as fuck.
He is sick with the knife.
Yeah, so he fucks them up, he runs away, and I really like this. He turns, we will be together, my love, I promise, and like literally drops out of the frame. I'm like, what a guy, like literally.
He's sick, isn't he?
And then we cut to the final showdown in the middle of the desert. He's running through fields and he gets out into the open desert, but they're still pursuing him.
The bounty hunters and Lee Van Cleef and Broxton and his stepson are all after him.
And the Nazi.
And the Baron. So Lee Van Cleef, you can see in his eyes at this point, he's already decided that he believes Kachia is telling the truth, and he knows it's the stepson. So they come to kind of like an impasse where there's two turnings where he could go. And they say, all the bounty hunters go that way. Me and the stepson and a few others will go this way. So he's basically got him and the stepson by himself.
Yeah.
They manage to track down Kachia. But when he gets there, he hands Kachia a gun and leaves it between them two to have a shootout. But what I liked about this is, rather than just your standard shootout, Kachia's like, no, fuck that. He puts down the gun, lets the stepson have the gun, but he has a knife. So some shootout, but one guy's got a knife, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's like Indiana Jones.
He's fucking sick, man.
But Kachia wins.
He gets a shot off, but he nails him between the eyes.
nails him between the eyes. Obviously, then then they come along, the bounty hunters, and are like, what's going on here? Because the stepson's like laying in the middle of the sand, like dead, you know. And then we see the Nazi turn up, don't we? And we're like, this is what we wanted to see.
Yeah.
It's like Goldfinger, innit? You summed it up earlier. Like, Goldfinger is the villain, but we want to see James Bond fight Oddjob. Like, this is exactly what we were after.
And they've been building this up from pretty much the second scene,
Yeah.
where any time they've been together, the Baron's been twiddling his moustache and being like, oh, I've heard so much about your shooting abilities.
Yeah.
And I love where the musical score comes in before their shootout to build it up. It's similar to the score for the Stepson and Kachia's shootout, but it blends in the piano piece he was playing from before.
Yeah. And I like this because we've talked earlier about the Nazi Baron's like gadgets and shit. He was saying like earlier before they rode out how he had made special belts because like he realised it's not about how good you are shooting, it's about how quick you can like draw. Kachia's looking, it like zooms into the Baron opening his waistcoat with his fancy belts and like all and his guns, and then it goes back to Lee Van Cleef. He's just got like one gun tucked into his belt, and you are worried at this point. You're like, fuck, he's gonna fuck him up. It's like the classic spaghetti western, zooming in and out, like the tense bit before you know the result. The German shoots, hits him, but as Lee Van Cleef rolls, pretty cool. He rolls and like fires off the shot and just manages to take out the German. It's a very, very cool scene. I liked it a lot.
Yeah. And it becomes a bit like Lord of the Rings at this point, the final one, where you keep thinking it's going to end and it just doesn't. Because then Broxton, he's like, oh, fuck it, I'll just leave. But then does a little dick snake move where he just shows up at the top of a mountain with a rifle. And he's like, you can't shoot me with your pistol from up here. So he starts shooting at him. And Kachia kicks over a rifle
Flicks it up.
Yeah, he flicks up
It's
a
like
rifle to
football.
Lee Van Cleef. And he blasts him and kills him.
It's so cool. He flicks it up, he like grabs it and just goes.
And it's sick. But also at that point I was like, alright, that's enough shootouts now.
Yeah. And it's quite funny because Broxton like talks earlier when they're looking at the gun table about, oh, you didn't know that I loved hunting and the rifle is the best. So like to be shot by his own weapon and after all that, like when he, by the way, had 2 or 3 or 4 shots at him and missed all of them, it took Lee Van Cleef 1 to finish the job. Like that's
Dick.
cool as fuck.
He's like, I still haven't hunted man.
And then he sounds like fucking the orcs from Lord of the Rings. Man flesh.
I've been to Africa and India looking for all types of animals to kill. But there's still one type of animal that I haven't hunted. Not with a gun. That is the hunting of man. Should be interesting.
I don't really get this bit because like the other bounty hunters, like I thought they were just gonna like murder the both of them.
But they've got no skin in the game now, do they?
But they kind of just looked at each other and was like, "Laters," and just like rode off.
Well, who's going to pay them?
Yeah,
They
good
don't
point.
care.
Good
They're
point.
bounty hunters.
Yeah, good point. They're mercenaries.
And then Lee Van Cleef and Kachia ride off into the sun as besties.
Oh yeah, I love this scene. So the ending is like, "I'm going this way," and then he's like, "I'm going that way," and then he goes, "You would never catch me."
Yeah.
Never. And then like, it's really cool because the music comes in, never. And I was like, yes, what a great fucking
It's even got
ending.
its own banging theme song.
Yeah, like it was fantastic. Overall, yeah, I'm a fan of spaghetti westerns as it is. Any spaghetti western you present to me, I will probably enjoy just because of the fact I love the genre. But I didn't need any winning over. This is a film that ticks all my boxes. Like great opening sequence, great music, a bit used sparingly, but used well in the scenes that it's in. Great chemistry between the actors. Great villain. Great script writing. Everything just great. That's all I can say.
You pretty much hit every note for me, so I'll make it quick. But I was honestly blown away by the quality of this film. This is genuine, just a classic film, and I'd recommend it to anyone, not just fans of spaghetti westerns, because it is absolutely fantastic from minute to end. And I rewatch Good, the Bad, and the Ugly and Leone's spaghetti westerns once a year. Without fail, maybe more often than that even. All the other ones I'll rewatch every couple of years, but honestly I feel like this one's going to go straight into my once a year carousel of watching. It's that good. I put it on a par with Fistful of Dollars and For a Few Dollars More. I honestly think this is one of the best spaghetti westerns ever made. One of the best westerns ever made, and just a classic film that deserves a lot more love than it gets. So that's an easy recommendation for The Big Gundown.
Adios! But you never would have got me! Never!